Миф. Дэвид Мицкевич является полноправным преемником Рона Хаббарда. Приходя на саентологические праздники и видя Дэвида Мицкевича одного на сцене, возникает представление, что он является лидером саентологии, и что именно ему Рон Хаббард оставил правление церковью. Цитируя официальный сайт церкви Саентология, Дэвид Мицкевич является духовным лидером саентологической религии. Однако в ходе своего исследования я наткнулся на следующий документ. Это приказ флага под номером 3879 от 19 января 1986 года. В нем Рон Хаббард создает новый ранг для морской организации, стоящий выше капитану, и этот ранг называется преданный офицер. Рон Хаббард продвигает до ранга преданных офицеров Пэта и Энни Брокер. По свидетельству Марти Расбана, который был долгие годы правой рукой Дэвида Мицкевича, Марти и Дэвид уловками вытеснили Пэта и Энни Брокер с позиции власти, и последним пришлось покинуть морскую организацию. По свидетельству частных сыщиков, Дэвид Мицкевич до сих пор следит за Пэтом Брокером. Энни Брокер уже нет в живых. Лоис Рейсдорф была личным помощником Рона с 1973 по 80-е годы. Потом она была членом комиссии, которая супервизировала всю саентологическую деятельность во всем мире. Вот что ей есть сказать по поводу Дэвида Мицкевича.
He started to get power and started to pull in people onto his side. And it ended up being like a coup, where you had half of the management took over and kicked out the other half.
Riesdorf says she is part of that other half and that she's relieved of her executive duties.
It was a betrayal.
In the book, you say that your son really developed a taste for power in the Sea Org.
There were no checks and balances on him at a certain point where he could just go ahead. He just assumed that power.
Еще один шокирующий документ, который я нашел в ходе своего расследования, это свидетельские показания Дебби Кук. Дело в том, что после того, как Дебби разослала свое письмо 14 тысяч саентологов, которые находились в списке ее контактов, церковь саентологии подала на Дебби Кук иск за якобы разглашение конфиденциальности. На предварительных слушаниях по этому делу Дебби дала свидетельские показания. Наша команда перевела эти показания на русский язык, и я хотел бы представить их вашему вниманию.
In the year 2005, what was the first thing that you witnessed that personally horrified and frightened you?
I witnessed Mr. Miscavige physically punching in the face and wrestling to the ground another very senior executive at Scientology International level.
Did you ever begin to receive, or were you ever the recipient of any violence?
Yes, I was. One time I was called into a conference room and asked some questions, and he ordered his secretary to slap me, and she slapped me so hard I fell over into the chairs. One time Mr. Miscavige ordered his communicator to break my finger if I didn't answer his question.
You yourself ever received physical violence from Mr. Miscavige?
There was really only one physical incident where he was very angry and he walked around a very long conference table to get to me. He was yelling and he came up like as if he was going to choke me, but he didn't. He basically grabbed my shoulders and shook me while he was yelling at me.
Let's talk about how you ended up in the hole. You told us that the hole consisted of a couple of, I think, double-wide trailers.
Yes.
What made it the hole rather than a couple of double-wide trailers that people were living in? Describe it for us.
It had bars on the windows, and the one entrance was guarded by security 24 hours a day. And it contained in it, at the time that I went into the hole in May of 2007, there was over 100 top Scientology International executives that had been put there. And the hole basically was some kind of a slang term that had been coined long before I got there. And it was where you ate there, you slept there on the floor, and you never left with the exception of a brief period to go take a shower and go back.
When you say slept there on the floor, did you have cots or bunks or some kind of beds?
No, you slept you were given a sleeping bag, you slept on the floor in a sleeping bag.
And what were the conditions like on the floor to sleep?
Well, there were ants. The place was infested by ants, so ants would crawl on you. And there was a 2-week period during that time when all the electricity had been shut off, as ordered by Mr. Miscavige. And this was, of course, in summer in the desert, and so the temperature in there was about 106.
Why didn't you just take off and get away from the hole?
It's not possible. It's absolutely not physically possible. Couldn't make it past security. The windows were barred. Right from the beginning when I went in, I obviously was trying to figure out, plotting how to get out.
Were you used to, in your life, getting beaten up? Was that something you were used to?
No, never.
And you were a 40-something-year-old woman with a very, very respected job.
Yes.
Рон Мицкевич, отец Дэвида Мицкевича, служил в морской организации на базе Международного управления вместе со своим сыном. В 2012 году Рон буквально сбежал от своего сына Дэвида. В 2016 году Рон написал книгу про своего сына и назвал ее «Беспощадный». Мы прилагаем вашему вниманию телевизионное интервью с Роном, которое было любезно переведено на русский язык пользователем YouTube Диной Фархат.
Well, first on the Kelly File, new claims about the secretive inner workings of the Church of Scientology and David Miscavige, the man who has been its leader for the past 30 years. While the church has had its share of critics, this time the attacks come from someone who was very close to the story, Ron Miscavige, David's father. Earlier, I spoke with him about his new book, Ruthless, Scientology, My Son David Miscavige, and Me. Ron, thank you very much for being here.
I appreciate you asking me.
How long were you in Scientology?
From the time I got in, which was about 1970, it would have been about 42 years.
Wow.
But I was on staff for 26 and a half years.
What about, there's something called the hole, where they put people who they believe need discipline.
Yeah.
And according to your book, physical beatings are a part of being in the hole.
That I don't know about. I do know this, that the people in the hole would spend all day confessing their sins, and some of the people in there, if they weren't getting what they thought was the sins out of the person, they would resort to physical things.
Is it true if you get sent to the hole, you have to clean the floor with your tongue?
I heard that one guy did clean the bathroom with his tongue, yes. I didn't see this, but I heard it from reliable sources, though.
Did you ever go to David and say, what are you doing?
Believe me when I tell you, that would have been such an improper question, I would have never said it.
Why?
You just didn't do it. He was like the supreme leader. You didn't challenge him on anything.
Your own son.
My own son. Listen, he called me Ron. He didn't call me Dad. He sent me presents and he'd send me a card to say Dad, but in person, it was Ron. When I was there, I was a staff member. I was not his father.
You're having been in Scientology for 40+ years.
Yeah.
You decided to leave, and the word you use is to escape.
That's correct.
Why did you have to escape?
Megan, you cannot walk out that gate. Here's the life I was living. If you wanted to send a letter to somebody, you had to let the envelope open with the stamp on it, and you'd send it to security. They would read it, If it was okay, they'd seal it and send it out. If it wasn't, you'd get it back and it'd tell you, you can't say these things.
Where were you living?
On a compound.
So everything is controlled?
Everything is controlled. You don't have a telephone. You go through a switchboard operator. If you were to make a call, there's another person listening on the other end of the call. When my brother died and my nephew Gerard told me about it, I had Crystal Simmons listening on the extension. When my nephew told me, my dad's dead. God damn. You couldn't go off the base to get a pair of underwear, go to Walmart.
Безусловно, свидетельства о подавляющем характере Дэвида Мицкевича продолжали накапливаться. Состояние нынешней церкви Саентологии стало проясняться. Как говорится, рыба гниет с головы.